So we have a little update on the Katrina Lewandowski slash Ben Diskin Capcom SAG-AFTRA union situation that I reported on extensively on March 14th. Look at this. Ya boys even over here on Twitter.com trending. Wow. Game Localizer Katrina L's Bluesky account suspended after backlash. Oh, spoiler alert. That's part of today's update. Yeah, she got suspended on Bluesky. Let's take a look at what the trending tab has to say here. On March 10th, Lewandowski posted on X calling fans to email, comment, and call companies to demand union voice actors and improved translations. Obviously, they're not actually improved, but sure. And this was not actually on X either. She posted on Bluesky, of course. Continuing. YouTuber Hirohe highlighted it on March 14th, sparking criticism from opponents of Western localization changes who accused her of promoting harassment against Japanese developers. Yeah, she quite literally was, by her own admission on Bluesky. By March 16th, her Bluesky account showed a suspension notice, with some users celebrating amid debates over fair labor versus faithful translations in gaming. Neither Bluesky nor Lewandowski has commented officially. Well, of course, Bluesky is not going to comment on this. And Lewandowski, she's long since locked her Twitter account. I think she locked it down like over a year ago. So if she's going to comment on this, maybe she's going to reactivate her Twitter or something. That hasn't happened yet, though. That's true. So far, radio silence. But of course, it's not like she can post on Bluesky anymore either. Currently suspended and all that, which is probably devastating news for her. It's probably like her favorite website. So what a shame. Now, there is actually even more updates than her getting suspended on Bluesky, as people in Japan have found out about what she was saying. So this situation is blown up even more than summarized right there. And let's run through the order of events really quick to see how this is all unfolding. As mentioned, it begins with my video on March 14th, titled English VAs and Localizers Just Went Full Mask Off. We'll take a look at like the first 10 seconds from the intro of that video. It's important context for what follows. Here we have infamously corrupt localizer Katrina L advocating for her couch activist buddies over on Bluesky to call up and harass Japanese companies to try to force them to use union actors and localizers like her. The entitlement from these people is insane. The next day, on March 15th, Permaban had tweeted about this, saying, infamous localizer Katrina went mask off on Bluesky and declared that people need to bully Japanese companies until they hire their ilk of localizers and union VAs to only contract them. How moral and good of them. Of course, she only has the courage to say that on Bluesky. Japanese politician Zenko Kurishita, who even served as a member of the assembly multiple times, saw that post about Katrina and even commented on the situation, and specifically saying they incited fans to quote-unquote bully the company and incited a boycott on social media. If an employee did this in a Japanese company, it wouldn't be surprising if the company took some kind of disciplinary action. He followed that up with this post that reads, this could pose a threat to Japanese content companies. They should implement risk management measures. And so at this point in time, she had not yet been suspended on Bluesky yet. A few hours before she got suspended, I actually noticed that on her Bluesky account, she was trying to run damage control, which takes us to my tweet about said damage control, as Katrina had posted this, once again, mere hours before she got suspended. Hello, friends. Yearly reminder, do not engage or reply to trolls or harassment. Ignore, block, and if it's particularly targeted or vile, report. And remember, they don't particularly care about translation, localization, or dubbing. They just want to quote-unquote own the libs. It's actually astonishing how bad her points are. Like, dude, she was literally the one advocating to harass Japanese employees. But now she's crying about harassment because people are criticizing her post that was actually advocating for harassment. And then she talks about like, oh, just block them and report them. The irony of that too, considering that she's the one that actually got suspended for her advocating to get people harassed. And then there's the second part of her damage control, trying to lie about people, saying they just want to own the libs. They don't really care about translation or localization. So yeah, that's obviously ridiculous. People are not just trying to own the libs when they're calling out corrupt localizers and how they butcher the source material. At this point, it's been going on for well over half a decade that localizers have been getting caught, like I just said, abusing the source material. So she wants to turn around and be like, oh, they just want to own the libs. As mentioned, that's a ridiculous lie. It is pathetic on her part to try and spin things that direction as she pushes that agenda on her Bluesky account, desperately trying to run damage control because she got caught advocating to have people harass Japanese employees. By the way, really funny that the people who claim on social media to care about labor are in actuality trying to harass labor, you know? very hypocritical, but that's a recurring theme with these sort of people. They're hypocrites, they have no self-awareness, and they love to harass others. Then when they get criticized for what they do and the harassment that they bring onto others, they turn around and try to play victim. It's a tale as old as time. We've seen this happen over and over again, and it never ceases to be immensely pathetic. The last thing to say about this really quick is once again where Katrina said, quote, "They just want to own the libs," unquote. That premise to begin with is an accidental self-report that localizers like Katrina are in fact shoving their political brain rot into the source material. That is the only way she would ever even correlate the criticism to her claim. Now, of course, we already knew all that, but it's funny seeing that she's accidentally going further mask off here without even realizing it. And so sure enough, a few hours after that post is made, and as you of course know because we've said it multiple times in the video now, she ended up getting suspended on a Bluesky. Now, as this situation with Katrina went viral on Twitter the last few days, it's important to remember that this entire situation involves a lot more than Katrina, and I've seen a lot of large accounts on Twitter talking about this, really tunnel visioning the Katrina stuff. And some of these large accounts don't seem to realize that this entire situation's actually even worse than just the Katrina portion, because going back to my March 14th video, English VAs and Localizers just went full mask off, I showed you how Katrina's post was actually in response to VA Ben Diskin. Now, just for posterity, clearly the one in the middle, like me in the middle, that's from March 14th. Me on the side, this is real-time March 17th now, just so no one's confused. But like I was saying, Katrina's post was actually in response to news about VA Ben Diskin, who was upset with Capcom because Capcom would not sign a union agreement with SAG-AFTRA, and he seems to have stepped down as the VA for Mega Man because he was mad that Capcom wouldn't sign said union agreement with the notoriously corrupt union SAG-AFTRA. And so he went on to post about this, an entire thread he made on Bluesky that I covered, and Katrina actually saw that post, and that's what spurred her to make her own giant thread on Bluesky complaining about this stuff, and that ultimately concluded with the now infamous post of her advocating for people to harass Japanese companies into trying to force them to sign union agreements with SAG-AFTRA. So while I completely understand that it's highly amusing seeing Katrina's involvement here and how everything, backfired on her, how she found out so quickly, it is important to remember that there is a larger context here involving Ben Diskin, Capcom, and how it all circles once again back to the notorious union SAG-AFTRA and their union members over on Bluesky, just like we saw during the Hoyoverse failed strike of 2025. Or I suppose it would be more accurate to call that the Union VA harassment campaign of 2025. In closing, it was a little bit tricky for me to make this video because there was a lot of context I had to provide while also trying not to be too redundant for people that already saw the March 14th video. So hopefully I found that balance, but to be quite frank, I kind of struggled finding that balance today. Hopefully it worked out though. If not, if anyone's confused or anything like that, my bad. I should have done better if so. But that's where we are. So let me know what you think about the latest. As always, thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely week, and I'll see you next time.